Hey everyone, welcome to the Sabre Education Experience Group live. My name's Mikelah. I'll be your guest artist for today for WA. I'll be sharing with you perspective blondes, a great easy way to add dimension and variation and texture into blocky blondes. I'll love lots of questions, so leave your comments down below. I'll be sure to answer them. If I don't get back to you straight away, I'll be answering them after the live feed. So, what we've got here, this is my beautiful model today, Sophie. We have basically an very blonde model. Sometimes when you go through and you've got like your blonde models and they're wanting to add variation, dimension to break it up, I find it a little bit kind of like, where do we start? What do I do? All of that. So today we're working with a natural level 7, kind of 8 level. Sorry. We're working with like a natural 7, 8. We're really quite blonde, very blocky, very solid. So we'll definitely want to break it up and add a bit of dimension and texture. So today I'm going to be using the liquid demi range. It is a semi-demi, which is great. So it just deposits, it's almost like a lip gloss. So it adds more of a sheer shine to it. Nothing too blocky, nothing too hectic. So it's a really great safe product to use while adding dimension and depth into a blocky blonde. Today, my formula today, I've used 7SB and 7NWB with 5 Vol, the Lumi Shine. The reason why I always use my liquid demis is because I just feel like it's not a blanket coverage. It's very sheer, so it's really soft. And also a great way because you kind of, when you're adding a bit of light, depth into lightness, you always got to try and drop it down just a little bit of level because it does tend to let go of it really quickly as well. This is a really easy technique. So what I would tend to do, always prepping the hair with my Pro 1 series, Defy Damage, which I already have today. It just helps with depositing colour and letting it hold, also repairing it at the same time. So whatever I start, I'll always figure out when my client always parts their hair. So we always part our hair in the side here. Very important to establish where the parting is because if you want to move it over, you have to make sure that it's symmetrical and even. Because what we do when adding depth into a blocky blonde, the tip is adding pieces, not little soft lowlights. I find when you add little soft lowlights and lots of depth, it can make it look really dull and you almost lose that big blonde pops of colour. So what I would first start off with is I always find where the parting is, section it out. My favourite foil to use is my wide foil. You can just create bigger sections, less foils, and quicker time as well. So always establishing where the hairline is, always leaving the face frame. So I find it's really important with a blonde to leave that brightness around the face. When adding depth, it can be a bit scary, adding it into blonde because they make it feel too dark. So it's a nice safety blanket for that. So what you want to do is you want to work around on the curvature of the head in the C-section, like so. And generally what I will do is I will always do deep zigzag sections. So taking my section, going in and out, like so. Getting rid of my section through here. Like that. So then what I will do is I will take it around, so I will follow underneath my zigzags, like so. Leaving my big, deep triangle sections. And you can imagine adding the lowlights through there is going to create those really nice deep pockets of depth. And it will almost overshadow, like shadow over the top of the blonde, making those blondes stand out and pop more. So whenever adding my lowlights, always making sure it's at the curvature of the head. If I feel like a blonde's too deep, I'll just section that out.
We've got a few people saying hello.
Hello everyone!
Excited people here today.
Yeah. So, bringing your sectioning down, generally what I will always find as well, if you're taking a thicker section, you want to make sure the product actually is saturated through. So taking that little bit up through there, having more of a flatter so you can see through it, and then adding the top layer over the top. So I'll just demonstrate through here. I'll always use a foil board. I just find you've got more control and stability through there as well. being able to flick it down. So getting my colour, applying it, saturating it. The tip is to always angle the brush and really, really work that colour through. The liquid demi range is very watery, so I do recommend to slowly build up the colour instead of saturate it down, because you don't want to get any spots or marks down there, or colour flicking over to the blonde, which is really important. So bringing this down and just establishing where you want to have that depth in those pockets. Always taking it a little bit lower through the back. And angle. So you can see I'm just bringing this down like so. I will always get a brush, whether it's like a soft bristles through here. A wet brush is fine, or a detangler is always really good as well. And just brushing it through, just to blend those little bits of that product. And then I will go through and I'll add this over the top again, just to make sure my colour is saturated. Then grabbing my next colour, my fill over the top. And just bringing that down into those. The reason why I do that is because it's more of a thicker section. You want to make sure the colour is saturated and penetrated through all the way to the ends, all the way through. Don't want any lines or dots or spots. Generally, this foiling technique is quite good. I'll only be adding about 10 to 15 foilers through the whole head. Because you don't want to add too much depth. There's a fine line between adding too much depth and losing your blonde, and then not adding enough. So again, just polish that off with just brushing that through. You're able to see whether it's like penetrating through, and then flip that out. So generally, sometimes if I'm not doing any free playing in between, I'll pull my hair out. If not, a good easy way is just to double it up. You don't want the dark or anything to penetrate through to the end. You always want to leave about the tips out, depending on how much depth you want to see to where you want it. So again, taking my next section, and again, following the deep zigzags.
We do have a question.
Go!
This is from Lenny. He says, how do you go about making sure they don't feel too dark when they're low light, but still wanting to keep the blonde lighted look?
Yeah, definitely. I will always, like my rule of thumb is always keep it lighter around the face, because that's the first thing that they see. That's basically my safety blanket. Again, always, with my liquid demis is a really good way to make sure I don't take it too dark as well. It's not a blocky colour, you're not going to get stripes or streaks through there, and it's sheer and it fades out as well. So I'll always say, let's just pop it on, we'll match it to your natural colour. That way your blonde is still basically blonde, but you're just breaking it up a little bit. Low lighting doesn't have to be scary with blondes. I've figured out as long as you keep it right around the front, a little bit through the top, there's dead zones and pockets through here that need to take it a bit darker to be able to get that contrast. And again, brushing it through, always angling my brush. Making sure that's all penetrated through. Taking it deeper through the back and leaving it a little bit higher through the sides so she gets that nice transition through there. It's always blending. And then buffing this through here.
Oh, we have a question from Duncan.
Duncan!
Do you use a brush with a soft or rubber bristles to ensure you don't pierce the foil?
Yeah, so this one has a harder bristles. These are like metal bristles. As long as you're not going into it, you're not going to pierce it. Again, it's just all soft. Everything is lightly and feathered with this technique. Never go in too harsh to create those lines. Again, with painting and brushing, really soft. You don't want to stretch the colour out too far. You just want to blend it just slightly. So you can see how I'm almost got to the top section through here. And when I pull this down, you can kind of see how that's still covering through there. I'm going to do the low lights at the top last so I can see where my dimension is through underneath. So I'm just going to section this out. And then again, grabbing my neck section and mimicking exactly what I did on the other side. Because we're going to the side and we're quite more heavy through here, I'm going to do more zigzag section. I'm going to create more depth through there.
And we can just have a look at the formula on the wall over here while you're sectioning that, Mikelah.
Yeah, so I did 7 NWB and 7 SB, equal parts. I love that formula. It's probably my favourite formula. I use it for basically every colour. It's the most natural sheer colour that you can. And because you've got the NWB, if you're going in with blocky blondes, there's that fine line, you don't want it to go khaki or dull or kind of grey or ash and lose it. So the NWB still has that nice warmth coming through to fill it. And then you've got the SB, which is like a silver blonde, which is basically like a natural shade. If I ever want to mimic a natural colour, I'll always use my SBs. So again, just establishing where you are. If I've done a bigger pocket, I will just section this out through here. I'll always, if my hair is not blonde enough and I'm just wanting to break it up still and I want to add a little bit, like make it pop, I'll add some free play throughout the ends as well, especially around the face. That's so they don't feel too like dull. Then again, just really working through that colour, saturating it. Brushing it through. And you can see I scoop my brush as well, just very lightly, just scooping it out.
We have a comment from Jessie who says she loves your clear apron.
Oh my god, thank you! I love it. This is great because you can see what you're wearing, but then also protect your amazing clothes that we always get bleach stains and gold stains on. So again, just bringing that down, making sure, brushing it, clearing it out. You always want to make sure the hair is flat on the board. If it's clustered there, you're not going to penetrate the colouring through and you're going to create lines, spots and dots. So bringing that down, flicking that through. I've just got a little bit of colour there, which is fine. So I'll always have a wet towel by my side, just in case a little bit just wants to pop out. We're all hairdressers, we're so messy. We get colour all over the face. And then brushing that through like this, creating that. Making sure it's all the way in. One lick for good luck. Beautiful. So then we're popping that over the top through there. If their natural colour is quite dark, what I will also do is I will add highlights if I need to add highlights. With my model today, we are very, very blonde. There's no need to add any highlights in there at the moment. So again, taking your neck section in a C section, following the curvature of the head, you want to go deep and in and out. So you can see how I've created through here. Always leaving out my hairline, my lightest section as well through here. I'm not going to take a low light through there. You don't want her to feel too dark through there. You want to have that pop of blonde, but you want to be able to create that depth, shadowing the blonde to make that pop. So again, I will pop this down, slice that out in that corner, creating it through there, grabbing my white foil. Does everyone else use liquid demis through with their colouring and everything like that, or do we more go for DDs in Lumi Shine? Because I must, like sometimes I'll go through and do a DD. If I want it a bit more kind of permanent, I will do a DD. If it's a blonde that's just wanting to change a little bit or break the blonde up a little bit, I will always use a liquid demi. I just find it's not a heavy coverage. And if, as all blondes like to change their hair, want to change it or they get over the dark, it's easy to lighten up. But by the time they come back for their next colour, all those low lights have kind of faded out a little bit and blended in. So again, angling this through down there, you want to be able to still have the lightness around the face. And always angling that brush. You can control the hair more by angling the brush.
Yep.
And again, just sweeping this in through here.
So Duncan has a comment.
Go, Dan.
He says, even though, even with the long hair, you're working through nice and quickly. How long do you normally allow for this technique in the salon?
Yeah, so this technique would take probably about, could take, depending on the length and the thickness, could take half an hour to 45 minutes. It's only about 10 to 15 foils, and because you're taking it quite thick and these diamonds, like the zigzag diamond sections, you're covering more space, getting more pockets, but less foil. You still don't want the dark to overshadow the blonde either. And it's always generally about 3 or 4 on each side, and then I'll just scatter a few pockets through the back. I will always add low lights in my colours as well, so nothing worse than highlighting, and then, especially with balayage as well, and then you're like, oh god, I'm too blonde, like there's no variation, it's just all blocky one colour. Mm-hmm. Same with doing your foils too fine or thin, they just get lost. So again, just making sure your sections are nice and clean and neat.
You can just actually see the shine on that colour.
Yeah. And that's what I love about the Lume Shine Liquid Demis is low lights. They're just easy to use. They penetrate through to the hair, covers more. Yep.
And Sharon says hello.
Hello. And then folding this up. And again, using the wide foil, you're able to cover more of the hair as well. And then we'll do another zigzag through here. You always want to make sure you end your zigzag kind of angling up through here. So you can imagine when it falls through, we take this nice pocket through here. And then you can literally see how the face frame through here, that will shadow over the top, making this blonde pop more.
Okay, great, yeah.
Again, just popping that through there, leaving out that hairline through there. I will section this up. Taking that too. And then rubbing my white foil through there. Making sure my hair is flat, more control.
If anyone has any more questions, please keep them coming.
I'm an open book. I'm happy to share whatever. And going through here. Again, your formulas will change and what products you use will change as well. Depending on the hair. If someone has greys, you know, you're going to use something a bit more to cover their greys.
So would you use a liquid demi for the greys?
So if their hair was light like this and then they had a regrowth of the grey, because what I'm doing in between after this, I'm just doing almost like a root tap and blend, just to kind of marry her natural colour in with the low lights through there. So what I would do is I'd go through and still do either a liquid demi or I'd do a DD cream for the low light, and then I would do a permanent root stretch or a root tap for the greys to cover that. In the Lume Shine. So again, always angling that down. You can see how far I'm taking this down through here. And then grabbing my section. See how far down I've taken that through there. Grabbing my next section, making sure it's flat, and then you're just popping that over the top like that. I'm not worried about getting it on her natural because I am going to be blending it in between as well. So again, making sure you're building up the product. Stretching it down using the angle of your brush. You'll notice that I never paint like that. I'll always do the flicking motion. Just so you get more of that seamless blend. I do that with my balayage and everything. Nice, good luck.
Okay, Duncan's another question here. If you were using a liquid or a Lumi Shine DD cream, would you go lighter in your colour selection?
I will always go a little bit lighter with my DD cream just because I find that their coverage is a bit more than my liquid demi. So I'll always go that little bit lighter. Again, with my clients, like we all know as hairdressers, sometimes hair will take, sometimes hair will let go. You never know what you're going to get sometimes with blonde, depending on how over processed it is. So I'll always start it off by kind of just mimicking their natural level or going, and then if it doesn't take, create a plan for them to say, next time we'll go a little bit darker. So again, I've got to that top bit, but I'm just going to kind of just leave that for now. I'm going to take this back section here. So you can see how I've kind of got this bit of a V through here. Just show you. You got your crown. Through there. I'm just going to section that up. Get that out of the way. Now all you're left is pretty much through here, these back bits, that you just want to create just a few pockets through there just to give it a bit of dimension and depth, because you've already taken it quite low through there. So what I will tend to do is, again, in my zigzag sections, popping that up. Grabbing that again. If you feel like there's a little bit there, you always just want to make sure you have almost like pieces and pockets under there. I'll grab my foil forward. Bringing the hair down. And then going like that. Another question from Dylan Joycombe. Any tips on how to get more seamless blend without any harsh lines? Yeah, so again, the thing is always making sure you're building up the product, not oversaturating it to get any, because it's easily to miss bits. So building the product up, making sure you're saturating it. Blending it with your brush is the biggest tip as well. So making sure you get that kind of blend, feeding out any lines. Not folding the foil too hard as well. So say if you did tend to fold the foil up like that, holding it too hard, you want it to just be really super soft. So less bends in your foil? Yeah, less bends in your foil, less tension when you're blending. You just want to kind of just like softly sweep it. So then go through here, then you can see I've got this, and I'm going to literally do another. And again, like you want to be able to create, for it to not go that dull, murky blonde when adding low lights, like you're putting too many low lights in and it blends into one colour again. Creating the pockets and the bigger depth through there will stop that. So again, we're just going to grab that down. With the brush, could you use a denim brush as well to blend it? Oh my god, yeah, 100%. Any of those type of brushes that are really, really soft, with like wider kind of bristles. Not a comb, not a fine tooth comb, because it will stretch the colour and you'll create lines like that way. You want something that's just going to lightly just sweep the colour off. So with this brush, the best brushes are the Sheila brushes. I always blend with them. They just don't create any lines, very soft.
I'll just maybe get a close up on the edges of that brush. There you go.
to our last bit, which is the crown and the party. So you want to, again, balayage is always visual, I feel, like where you want to create the depth. If they already had the depth underneath, then you wouldn't bother low lighting through there. So what I would do is I'd have a look, establish where the parting is, and this is when I would go in. And you want to create little zigzag sections. So again, always angling it from there because you want that low light to overshadow through there. So what I will do is I'll hit that.
So it's a smaller kind of.
Yeah.
So
and then again, you're kind of just like horseshoeing this up, following the curvature of the head. Like that. Because you're using a 7 level, it's not going to go too dark, especially a liquid demi. Right through there. Now, depending how low you want to take it, again, I will always angle it and take the dark a bit lower through here. Something that through there.
New Zealand are watching us today.
Yes. Sometimes as well with my low lights, I will even pop a highlight on the tips of these if I wanted to. So if it was really quite dull through here, I will free play or do a little bit of a lightener through there. So you have that really nice transition and pop coming through. Also a nice tip and trick when rinsing this colour as well, when you're adding any low lights or depth through there. You want to make sure you're always picking out the ends and the blonde, so in the basin bowl it's not going to tone and dull it down. And rinsing your dark.
I have another question from Lenny.
Yes.
He says, how come for the top section you didn't use the board? Any reason?
Because what I find with my board, I only use the board when the curvature of the head dips down and I don't have my stability. When I get to the top, I tend to balance my foil on the head. I do have it quite stable through there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so what you can see through here is my party. So see how that kind of I've still got it quite blonde through that top, but you've got those low lights coming through. So you can imagine when you bring it down, she's going to have that texture and dimension through there. Not being too scared to have it piecey. Don't be too scared. Right, then I'm going to establish my other side through here. Again, I'm going to marry it up. You can see, I'll show you. Marrying it up to where my point came through here to my low light. So we'll kind of go like that. And then I will take it like this. Going through there. A little bit heavier on this side because we do have more hair through there. So bringing that down. Again, making sure the hair is always flat, not grabbing it together where it folds in. And then painting that in.
I have a question for you,
Yes.
From me. Do you keep it higher at the front then? You don't bring it down as far?
Yeah, no, always. So you'll notice throughout all the low lights, I'm always angling around the face. I'm keeping it lighter around your face. That is your safety blanket for your client, so they don't feel too dark. You want the brightness to open up the face. And you're more creating the texture and the dimension interiorly to break it up.
Nice.
So again, popping that down, giving it a quick blend, and you can see how it doesn't It doesn't go to the other side of the hair when using a brush with bristles like this. A wet brush is easy as well. Sometimes I'll use a wet brush. And again, popping it through here. Now, I'm up to my last bit before I do my root stretch. So I'm going to have a look at the parting and have a look at the crown just to kind of see how we're sitting. So I've got a little bit through here. So I'm through the crown, I'm going to do a nice deep bit deeper through there. And then I'm going to pop this through here. So again, you can use a foil pull through there, but I just feel like I've got a lot more stability through the head. Making sure your client pops their head down so you can use the curvature of her head to pull that down. So with this technique as well, you can add highlights in between, you can add a colour in between, you can do a lot, you can free play in between. Right. So I've established all my low lights, and you can see how we've still got a fair bit of blonde through there. Again, my safety blanket through here, she's got all that blonde around the front, she's not going to feel too dark at all. And then your next thing, again, you don't have to do this, but I will tend to do this just to kind of marry the natural colour into the low lights and blend it in with the old highlights. I will do a liquid denim kind of root stretch.
Using the same colour?
Same colour, same formula. You just want it to all kind of blend in there. So you can see how I've just married that in just about an inch or so.
And this is a root stretch?
This is just like, yeah, like a root kind of stretch. Tap through there. And again, same kind of concept with your low light. You want to be able to blend it. Just give it a nice little fade through there. And go all the way around. I tend not to stretch around the hairline because I tend to like the transition and how it's naturally always lighter around the hairline. Even your natural hairs are always lighter. So what I will tend to do is I paint onto the face, leaving the little baby hairs out. So I'll just show you through here. So you can see how we're really quite naturally light through there. She has that natural light face pop, which is amazing. So you want to grab your brush, make sure it's nice and clean, not much hair, not much colour on there. And you want to just paint on the hairline. Just like so. And again, give that light liquid brush. And what you're going to do is you're leaving that hairline through here. See how I've left that? That way she doesn't feel too dark or anything through there, so she gets that nice blend. Any other questions?
Very quiet today.
It's Monday. And again, I am going through and I'm just lightly blending this out. And you will get that seamless blend because you've taken deeper pockets through there and blended it out. The root stretch will just blend in perfectly with that. So again, putting this over there, working in between. And bringing like that. Again, just working through and just blending that out, flicking the angle of the brush.
Okay, so Melissa has a question. She said, "Where's your brush from?"
It's from a supplier. I can't even remember where I got this brush from, to be honest with you. I think I bought them because they were pink. That's my favourite colour. Again, so you can see I've kind of gone like that, and I'm painting that directly down on those little light hairs. And you're going to mimic this with the hairline under here as well, because again, your hair is always just that little bit kind of lighter on the hairline. So painting downwards is very, very important to create that.
Okay, Lenny's another question.
Yes.
So when rinsing this off, would you put something on blonde ends to protect them from when rinsing the low light out?
Yeah, totally. You can definitely do that. You could totally do that. You could do a conditioner, but then basically what I tend to do is take it out but hold my hair up and rinse it in sections. So I'll rinse it this half and then I'll rinse that half, holding out the ends. Yes, it's a bit fiddly, but...
Okay, and I've got another one from Jessica. Could you use a postiche teasing brush for this technique?
You don't want any of the teeth to be too close together. You want it to be nice and kind of out, because if it's too close together, it can cluster the hair down and it can stretch the colour down further than what you want. You don't want to stretch the colour, you just want to blend the ends out. So anything with like that kind of not too thick. You don't really use anything that has finer teeth or anything like that. And then we're going to mimic it through here.
I'll just show everyone the formula again in case anyone's tuning in a bit later.
That formula I use for basically every single colour, I'll be dead honest. Anything from like blondes, adding low lights or breaking up or root stretches or anything like that, I'll always use that. And again, I'm just blending this out. Colour always looks darker, I find, with the liquid demi.
Yeah.
So don't ever get scared when you're doing it. You're like, oh, that's going really dark. Again, blending it out.
So you're taking that there about an inch or two down the hair, is it?
Yeah. So you're just blending into that transition bit through here to marry those low lights and the blonde in together, so you get that seamless blend. Especially when they've got that natural colour and it just, you can see that line. It tends to just blend their natural colour into the pre-existing colour.
So would you say this is going to give more softer foils through it, or more thicker pieces in the low lights?
Okay, so it's thicker foils, but the blend is like seamless, like it just kind of flows through. Because you're creating big pockets of depth through there. It makes the blonde pop even more, so they don't feel too light or don't feel too dark or anything like that. And again, I'm just blending this out through like this. And you can see how kind of quick this technique is to apply.
Yeah, so we're on 40 minutes now.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
And then coming through. Any other questions?
What's everyone's favourite colour formula out there? The DD creams or liquid demis? Let us know.
I like all of them, I love them. Anything Lumi Shine, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, the shine's
The softer on the hair, the shine is there.
It'd be a nice soft grow out as well for this look.
Yeah. Clients like this, whenever I'm adding low lights and using the liquid demis, they don't tend to get any regrowth or anything like that. So my clients do sometimes come see me every 8 to 10 weeks sometimes. So you can see how I've up to my hairline. I'm just putting this down. Making sure you're always kind of pulling the hair out. You don't want to pull your hair out and then get some dark on the ends or the tips. So clean sections is a must. So you can see I'm starting to get to that hairline here. Just stretching it up. And I'm using the same formula as my low lights. I haven't changed it or anything like that. And now I'm coming up to my bit. I just want to paint on. You can see how that just kind of blends that.
Yeah.
Haven't touched around my hairline.
Great idea.
Sometimes with this colour as well, I won't even tone. I will leave it because your low lights almost tone your blonde and break that up anyway. You don't want it to kind of like where you tone it and then the blonde doesn't have that nice pop, it just kind of blends again. You're back to where you started pretty much. I think as well, like not being scared not to tone.
Melissa has a question. Tips for if you wanted to incorporate a highlight?
Yes, so tips if you want to incorporate a highlight. Always just remember you want depth underneath and the highlight to pocket over the top. Because if you don't have the depth underneath and the highlight on the top, it's not going to really stand out. You don't have that contrast coming through. So generally I'll do a zigzag, and then on top of that where you see I've got the zigzag section, which I'll actually show you when I finish blending this. So you can see how you've got that zigzag going from your old section up the top. Going like that. I will do the same. I'll mimic it. I'll slice over the top of that, and then I'll do a highlight whether or not I foliage that. If they're quite dark, to cover more space. If they're already quite blonde, I'll do fine highlights just to break up that kind of regrowth or that banding. If they're not that light and you want to create more pockets of blonde, I'll go over the top of that as well. And again, I'm just painting onwards, down. Popping that through there. Again, if you want to like free play a few highlights through here and make the ends pop, I would go through and just like free play or foil underneath as well. There, making sure my sections are nice and neat, going through it again to make sure I've covered everything. So same theory as well, you can see how I've just kind of stretched that down a little bit there because I can see when that dries, she's still going to have that nice face frame and pop through at the front.
So if we don't finish in time, we're going to post the finished images of this?
Yes, the finished images and a little video we posted afterwards as well of the end look, which you definitely don't want to miss.
No. And we'll post the formula up there again.
Yes. As well, sometimes what I will do, which I'm actually going to be showing you guys next live education, is based in balayage. So sometimes as well what I would do with a technique like this, I will add my low lights, do that, and then at the base, and if the hair's already quite blonde, I just want to, you know, when you just want to pop it open, just have that little bit more of that kind of feature piece. I'll go through at the basin and control base and balayage where I'll just free play a few bits around the hairline. And that only takes about 5-10 minutes on top of it. And again, like anyone can really do that. If you train your apprentices or emerging stylists, they can tend to do that. So blending it all through, and you can see I'm almost finished. Again, painting it downwards through here, the hairline. Like that, and then brush it. And pretty much that is us. You want to take this time just to go through, make sure it's all blended through there. Going through. Yup. And you can see through here how I've just left that. I'll establish my pony again. Like so. Generally with your liquid demis, I'll always leave them on for about 20 minutes to half an hour. When adding depth in there to a blonde, you want to leave it for full processing just so it gives it a bit more of a coverage. So today I'm going to leave this on for half an hour, and then when I rinse out of the basin, I probably won't tone because I want to keep this quite bright. And then yeah. Any other questions?
That's us finished.
That's us finished.
Okay.
So, woo! So again, the perspective blonde coming through. You can see pockets. I've done about 3 to 4 foils on each side. Through the back here, I have done about 3 foils going up.
Yep.
So less than about 10 to 15 foils. Super easy. Again, my tips, always leaving out the hairline, blending it through, using your brush and wide foil. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But again, stay tuned for the afters. We'll post a video, and I will be with you again in a month's time for my next on face and balayage.
Thank you, Mikaela.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm just also want to let you know about Craig Argent's long seamless deconstruction haircut. That's on tomorrow, 1 o'clock New South Wales time, 11 a.m. WA and 3 p.m. New Zealand. See you then. Bye.